What's up, everybody? James Gore here. I have a wonderful guest, Dr. Amie Carter. You're the Sonoma County Superintendent of Schools, and it's a unique position, and we have this in every county in California, 58 counties. And but I just want to thank you, first of all, for being here today. I think we're going to go through kind of the state of the education system here in Sonoma County, some of the issues that we read about in the paper or that we see in our communities with districts consolidating and difficult decisions having to be made, some of your priorities as someone who doesn't just get to focus on one school or one district, but all of the, how many districts in Sonoma County?
39 starting in the fall of this year. 39 districts.
And we'll get to that in a minute too. 39 school districts. And then the fact that I want to start with something different, which is Happy America 250.
America 250 is great.
And we said that because we had a call in prep for this with you and Eric and Keith on our teams. And there was this idea of, God, we're having this conversation, but we also have something coming up that's really special. And so for anybody who's in the education system, I think the first thing to remind yourselves, whether you're a parent, whether you're somebody who cares, whether you're in a nonprofit, whether you're interested in workforce development, is that it's important to be involved with schools, the basic institution of our society. And so can you tell us, we also have something coming up that's a part of that?
Yep. Well, I think, you think about the word public education, right? It is one of the few spaces in our communities where we have that community-wide investment in the future. And here in California, the way we run schools is very much community involvement, community voice, community choice. And so coming up in the next few months ahead here, we've got an upcoming election for many of our roles on school boards here in Sonoma County. About 100 seats come up every year. And there's opportunities for passionate, engaged community members who care about children, who care about the future of our county to step up and run for those positions. We really need their voice and their involvement in the decision-making for our schools.
And I think it's this month that nominations open, that basically you can start pulling papers, you can decide what you do, but it doesn't close down for a while. We still have a while for people to be able to put in their papers to run for school board, right?
Yep. Papers start to be available July 13th and on scoe.org, SCOE.org. We've got a video that can kind of walk you through what the role is, what the responsibilities are, and get you ready to hold that seat.
So SCOE, Sonoma County Office of Education. So first of all, anybody who's listening, the challenge is to be one of the people who are the doers in this world, to be the one who steps up, who doesn't just complain. Like as I say, if you want to complain, if you want to come in hot into my office, I hope you voted one way or the other, right? That you didn't give up your right to be able to come in strong. The other thing is that if you got a strong opinion, make sure it's well-informed. I tell people after 12 years in this job is my biggest peeve is strongly held, lightly informed opinions. People who are fired up, who don't know squat or don't want to know squat. That's the worst part, not what you don't know. So if you don't know what it takes to be a school board member, if you think it's daunting, also remember that you learn by getting involved. That's the best way. So if you have any interest and you care, please go out and get involved. There's 100 spots open, as you said, every cycle. And so let's go back from that, though. So we need people to engage in schools. They are public institutions. They are not bubbles where you send your kids for daycare for them to come out perfect. It's about parent involvement. It's about community engagement. It's about the institutions, the institutes of higher learning, the businesses, the intersection, all these others. But you see things from a very unique perspective. Can you tell me about your position, what your focus is, what you spend your time doing, and how you work with the other superintendents and principals and teachers?
The first thing I do in any public speaking event is I need to explain to people that I am not the boss of all our schools. So this is an elected position that exists within California, a very unique system. I have some very clear mandates around fiscal responsibility. I have to make sure that all of our districts can pay their bills and their obligations over the course of 3 years. But beyond that, I really don't have any authority or power to step over the local decision making. And that's by design. We want all of our schools to be representative of local values, local priorities. And so I support those local boards and their decisions. Of course, here in Sonoma County, we have 37 superintendents, and it's my job to support their work. There are opportunities where all 37 districts come together and work on an initiative, but there's also many times when each of those districts is chasing their own unique priorities. So I tell people in my job, a lot of people just kind of see the headlines of about schools and make their decisions about schools based on the headlines. I get to make sort of my perspective is informed by what I see in classrooms. And I can tell you that when you go to Sonoma County classrooms, when you walk beside children and you see the kind of days that are curated and created for the children in Sonoma County, we have a lot to be proud of.
God, that's great. It's a great place to start because everybody tries to attack these days. The critics are very loud.
Yep.
We always talk about the need for people to get engaged and stay engaged in spite of the critics,
Yep.
right? In spite of, as I say, the strongly held, lightly informed opinions. But it's a really great story if you actually look around our community and look at our schools. And those stories aren't usually told. So let's kind of talk about the scene a little bit. So we've talked about the fact that there's school board positions. There's also amazing engagement that parents do in schools every day. We have a ton of school districts here in Sonoma County. In many ways, you would say that's reflective of an area that is very diverse. We have also so many microclimates. We have so many canyons. We have so many communities that have their own kind of cultures, like the West County, very different than Healdsburg, and Cloverdale's different than Pengrove.
Yeah,
and
it's the best.
And yet at the same time, sometimes what happens is having that many districts means you're duplicating efforts, means you're not leveraging resources amongst each other. You're creating your own programs, and that can cause either like inefficiencies or stepping on each other's feet.
Yep.
And is that one of the difficulties that we face here in Sonoma County with as many districts? With
Absolutely.
37, it was 45 when you started, right?
It was 40 when I started.
Okay.
We recently had a lapsation in Kashaya. We have just too few students out there under the California education code threshold. So this year it's gone to 39. But yeah, over the course of several decades, it's gotten fewer and fewer. So it's trending towards that sort of consolidated effort. But we like to have a voice in our local school. When I travel across Sonoma County, that's the number one question is, what about consolidation? There's too many districts. What are we going to do about it? And that is really a complicated discussion. There's a really great report by the grand jury that just came out in the last few weeks that really offers a comprehensive view of why this is such a complex challenge. One of the challenges is funding. Different school districts are funded in different ways. Santa Rosa is funded on a per pupil basis, and so it's important that they hold on to every student because every student is a revenue generator for that district. And so they've made a policy shift in the last year or so to no longer allow students to leave their district, which they have the right to under education code. You have the reverse problem in Healdsburg. Healdsburg is a basic aid district, which means local property taxes are what fund the schools. And so when Healdsburg is letting in a lot of students from surrounding areas, what that does is effectively dilute the per pupil amount that you're able to expend on students. So that's a district that would be inclined to be more aggressive about not allowing students in, and where they would be very welcome in Santa Rosa. So these different funding models create a whole topography of difficult decisions, and it's never quite so clear cut as you might think.
Is the idea of interdistrict transfers something that it seems to me, tell me if I'm wrong, but it's really in the last 30 to 50 years, it's really risen up. I mean, there was very few when I was at Montgomery High School in Santa Rosa, elementary school in Cloverdale, and then moving around with parents and things like that. But then there was this big flush where everybody was trying to get transfers to say, well, I'd like my kid to go to this school. I like that they have this programming here. I like that Hillsburg has a culinary academy. I like that Santa Rosa has this. But it would seem to me that before all that, people went to school where the school was at.
Right. Local schools. Yep. Local schools, local communities.
So even though everybody wants choice now, at the same time, you're like, yeah, but you got to realize that you being where you're at is what, whether it's your property taxes or even if it's your state taxes that come back into a per pupil model, is you're really securing yourself a spot in your community where you live, where your school is.
Yep.
And we do know that people choose to live in certain areas because of school districts.
Right.
It's a
and
big
as your
choice.
school thrives, your property values go up, your children grow up with children that that they're familiar with all through high school. And there's a lot to be said for that local model. But I do agree with you that we're in an era of a lot of school choice. The SMART train has been an accelerant of that. We have kids who live in Petaluma. They can pop up and go to school in Windsor. And all these sort of opportunities exist for children in our community. And it makes it, again, and sort of adds to that volatility and kind of creates a system whereby we would be invested in maybe poaching kids from other communities to build our own programs.
Yeah.
But
we can't have it be a race to the bottom is, I guess, the point.
Right. Yep.
But on the other side, there's always the point of like parents don't want to feel like they're putting their kid in a situation that it doesn't give them the ability to thrive. And that's something that you, superintendents, teachers, principals, student aides, everybody has to deal with, right?
Yes.
But let's start from an area and saying that Sonoma County schools are pretty good, right?
They're great.
So let's, I don't want to dive too much into esoteric concepts, but I want to put a pin on one thing, which was we've talked about districts, we've talked about consolidation. We've read a lot about the issues with Santa Rosa schools and others in the paper. Sometimes it doesn't always tell the real story. For you, what is the story that's going on? Are we going to see more consolidations, more disruptions in the systems? Is it because the amount of money going in is less? Is it because of declining enrollment? Where are we at?
Yep.
And what are we going to see over the next 3 to 5 years?
I think there's two key factors at play. The first is that we are an aging county. We are seeing fewer and fewer young families here. A lot of that has to do with the cost of living. But for years, we could project every year there would be more kindergartners. That no longer is the case. And we've just seen in the last 8 to 10 years a decline of about 12 to 15%.
12 to 15%.
Can you believe that? Yeah, 12 to 15%. Quite a bit of a drop during the pandemic. And one of the ways that I explain this to people is, if I was to ask you today, please cut 12 to 15% of your household budget. Right? Immediately you start thinking of things that are really valuable, that are really enjoyed by your family. Yeah. That is a situation that our schools are in, that our school boards are in, is they are having to make these cuts. They're trying to keep them as far away from children as they can. But that means that, there's a lot of things that are vulnerable and a lot of things are being lost that are important to us. Another complicator is we get sort of an influx of one-time funding for things. During the pandemic, we saw a lot of funding come in for mental health. That came in for about 3 years. We were able to build up some really great tools.
Hire staff.
Yep, hired staff.
Now that you have to, people might have to let go if we don't have.
Correct. Yeah. And as that funding recedes, we have to make the decision to separate with that. I think the other challenge, of course, is the cost of living in Sonoma County. I tell people, a teacher's salary is a ticket to the middle class, and you can get into a home and a retirement if you live in Fresno, if you live in Central Valley. Here where we live, it's more difficult for our educators, and that makes it really difficult to, build the kind of schools, retain the kind of staff, take care of our educators the way we want. And we have some unique Sonoma County regional challenges that exist throughout the entire North Bay.
And once again, sometimes it's very different. The cost of living in Cloverdale versus Hillsburg could be, the same house could be $250,000 to $500,000 difference.
Yep,
at least 50 to 100 or whatever. I remember I went to a Hillsburg City Council meeting years ago, maybe a decade plus, and they were highlighting a housing program that was getting people into subsidized housing and affordable housing. And they identified these like 6 units that were a part of a new development. And I was shocked to realize that some of the individuals that were going into what was considered deed restricted or income restricted housing, deed restricting housing, were people who were teachers. There was one couple that were teachers.
Yep.
And it just really throws it on its edge because people think like, okay, this would be for people who are at a poverty level that is not like a middle class, which you would assume. But when you're teachers, your contractors, your electricians, your plumbers, your everybody, you're the majority of your community can't live there. That's a tell on society and changes that need to be made.
My first home was a subsidized home.
Really?
Yeah, and I was in Ripon, California, in Central Valley.
Ripon.
And I was at the point with, I'm a mother of 5 and my growing family, and I was at the point where I was really going to need to leave education to care and provide for my family. And the community had this opportunity for me to get into a home, and it just meant everything to me. So we got to start.
Tell me more about your story. Tell me, just share a little bit.
Yeah.
It's good to see you.
You too.
Yeah.
Grew up in Orem, Utah. Big Mormon family. I've got 5 brothers, and I think what's interesting when I think about my brothers' stories is they all ended up in professions that didn't exist in the 1980s, right? Like their job titles didn't exist in schools, and I think that about the here and now, right? Like we're trending towards jobs that are unimaginable to us that these children will be rolling in, but. Education just sparked my mind and my hope for the future, and helped take me into a world that I want to be the person to hold that same door open for others. And so I became an English teacher. My first day as a substitute teacher,
what grade?
I taught juniors. But my first day as a substitute teacher, it was a nightmare. It was horrible.
Is that like a trial by fire
apologize
for all teachers?
Every child in that classroom. I did not know what I was doing, but I loved being around kids who were asking hard, probing questions. Right? You couldn't they wouldn't just take what you had to say for it. And I love being in those spaces. My favorite moment is when a kid says you're wrong. Because that's when I get to just be quiet and I just get to learn. And if you want to know the direction that we need to take schools in this particular moment, we just need to sit down and listen to our kids because they know. They'll tell you.
I love that because I get a chance over the years in my job to go and see classes and do civics presentations
The best.
Or even just go to my kids' classes on my own. And I tell people, if you're ever, because I deal with a lot of people who are very grumpy and very down on things. They're frustrated. By the time they come to my office, it's like whatever was a molehill has become a mountain. It's like, I need my permit, or I need this, or I need that. And so if you're the complaint line, you just get that, but it's okay. It's a part of the job that we choose. But I'm like, hey, if you ever want to just be inspired, go hang out with some kids in a class. They don't own the weight of all of the angst or the activism or the other stuff.
Right.
The future is still bright for them. And we, as adults, we cannot subject them to a pessimistic future. It's our job to work our butts off and prepare them for what's next. On that note, let's talk about how we prepare them for the future. You've talked about some of the things that are absolutely needed, the fulcrum points, like those pivot points in life, that if a kid at a certain age doesn't have this, they lose an opportunity for what we would call kind of upward mobility, or just to play in the world and to be a part of society. What are some of the things that you really focus on these days?
Yep. My most critical area of focus is that 3rd grade literacy piece. Research tells us that if you can get a 3rd grader reading fluently, you've just created a high school graduate. The correlation is so strong between that data point. A lot of the reason for that is, kindergarten, 1st grade, 2nd grade, we're talking about letter sounds, and there's a lot of, sort of oral education in the classroom. 4th grade, those kids walk into a desk with a textbook. So if we have not helped a child cross that bridge, the rest of their educational experience starts to deteriorate. They start to question their own ability. They start to think that they're slow. All of that is tied to that pivot point at third grade.
And it's really
literacy.
not about intellect. It's about translation.
Absolutely.
It's not about do you grasp the concepts of math and physics and other things. It's are you catching up? It's in many ways it's just like an English second language, right?
Absolutely.
In ESL, or I speak two other languages, and I know what it's like to be like in conversations and trying to catch up all the time. Right. So it's kind of beautiful that the biggest goal is also the same goal that we talked about 250 years ago in this country. It was all about literacy, right? So where are we at, and where do we need to be? And what are we doing to try and get there and close that gap?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest drivers is that Sonoma County does have a lower level of literacy. It's slightly lower than the state. It comes in around 46%. And we're trying to make an impact. And what's great is so much of what I love about Sonoma County was living here during the fires, right? And seeing our whole community run to help in an urgent matter. The same thing right now is happening around literacy. You'll hear it on the radio stations. You'll see that, right? Like we've brought together so many great school partners, Read on Sonoma, K3I, Schools Rule. There's so many great community partners that are coming together around this challenge and joining with schools. For the Sonoma County office part, we have taken on the task of making sure that our educators are very skilled in how to teach literacy. There's been a sort of a national history around the best research-based, evidence-based strategy. We know a lot more than we did in the 1980s, the 1990s. And so we're taking the time to spend an entire year with educators and help build the skills, not only in training, but getting in classrooms and coaching. We did two cohorts of 200, or of 100 year after year. This year, I had superintendents begging me to double the number.
Really?
And we've doubled that. So this year, we're going to have 400 educators that have really finally honed this skill. But we have a lot of other partners that are partnering with us to find new ways to get kids motivated, to make it a priority. And it feels like it's one pure unified effort here in Sonoma County. I'm really proud of it.
That's great. I love that you mentioned Read On Sonoma too. I'm dear friends with Michelle and the Armatura group that's doing a great job of also promulgating, getting that out and funding a lot of it. But the backbone is you all. Like that's the key is that if the schools aren't willing to innovate, whether it's with CTE, career technical education, whether it's internships, whether it's other things like that, then the cooperating entities just don't have a place. So it's been really inspiring for me to also work on the career technical education side when so many teachers started to sign up, just as you said, like they were like, I want to do this. I want to get into this work. So sometimes it's funny because I think people think about school budgets and they think about, well, my taxes pay for that. I don't got to get involved in it anymore. But then they see bonds come up for school bonds. And that's because the basic funding doesn't fund for all the facilities and all the deferred maintenance. And let's be real, in 1978, when we capped our property taxes at 1%, we decided that basically, as in other states that say we have too high income taxes, well, I go to Texas and they have 3% property taxes. They fund their schools with property taxes. The money doesn't go up and down with the economy. It's steady. On the other side is that I see an amazing network of foundations, Hillsburg Education Foundation, Windsor Education Foundation, all of these where they're doing private sector fundraising and community fundraising to be able to build institutions in the schools. Culinary centers, IT labs, things that certain places don't have. I see on the kind of CTE, the career technical education, I see a board of people that are the primary employers in Sonoma County so that we can provide a pipeline for these kids so that they don't go through school, leave for college, and aren't able to live in their community, right? what do you see out there? If you can reflect a little bit for me on those things and what else is needed or where we're at.
Yep. I think one of the calls to action for me are the data in this nation around young men 18 to 24. We have a lot of young men who are living at home, who don't have jobs, and who aren't in school. And in my mind, that is a problem that schools can solve. We can get after that. As a high school principal at Rancho Cotati High School for 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, you didn't finish your story.
Yeah, I know. There's a few more years in there.
We're just gonna bring it
longer
in.
next podcast. But I would see my high school seniors, freshman year, sophomore year, junior year, taking the ACT, passing AP classes. Do you know what we require high school seniors to take? 2 classes. Econ and English. If they've stayed on track into all that, it's those 2 classes and some electives. But that, in my mind, is the perfect year to get young people into internships, to get people dual enrolled. I can't tell you how powerful it is for a high school graduate to not only get handed their diploma on their graduation day, but also their college transcript. And you can disrupt how a child thinks about themselves if they've spent a semester, at our great junior college, seeing that kids are on skateboards and having coffee and learning, that is a place where they belong. So there's an opportunity there to get young people into colleges, but then also, as you mentioned, our CTE Foundation, I think we're the only county in the state of California that has a CTE Foundation specifically tackling this issue. But they've been a strong partner in getting our young people in internships. This year we had 100 high school students that were out in our business communities, job shadowing, helping, supporting. I know there were many here at county leadership. We had 3 at SCO. But that bridge, if we do a better job with young people at that senior year, sparking interest, sparking engagement, they now have a trajectory. They have a path. It's clear to them, and they're much less likely to go on to build great lives for themselves than they are to end up, as a lot of these young men are, without really a plan. Yes,
Listless.
Correct.
Trying to figure out the world in your head.
Yes.
I mean, I'll reflect on my time even when I finished college. I had these couple of years where I was trying to figure out my life in my head, and the thing I had to remind myself to do was get out, taste things, try them, and that's what internships do.
Absolutely.
We took into our office. We had an intern through the CTE program this last round, and my goal for her was not for her to. I mean, everybody has to put out the trash and sweep the floors, me and everybody. But that wasn't to bring in the intern just to slog them. It was, we took her to meetings with tribal leaders. We took them to meetings with school districts, with social justice advocates, with builders, just so that she could see the world and see what she doesn't see. And it was just fun to, in many ways, her goal was, it really allowed her to challenge the things in her head, whether they were hopes and dreams or fears, right? It was just a great experience to have her reflect back on us. So what's the call to action? The call to action is that sign up for the internship programs.
Absolutely.
If you run a business, even if you have a small operation, if you have a big operation, even more so. Here at the county, we're the largest employer in Sonoma County. We did a lot of work to have all of our departments open up for it, and all of our supervisor offices take the challenge to make it work. Because if not, then you're a part of the problem, not the solution, I'll just say.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah, I'd say the other
if you talk
thing
about the kids not being able to do what they're going to do, and I don't have belief in the next generation, well, then bring them in.
Bring them in, and they'll blow you away.
They'll blow
they
you
are
away.
Amazing human beings.
Yeah, you won't just teach them.
Yep. I think the other thing I would add to that is we have, over the course of the last few years, stitched together all of our high school districts. And so these internships, you're no longer just working with your local school, this policy, that policy. No. It's one portal for all of our businesses. We onboard you. We help walk you through how to interact with a 16-year-old and get you set up for success. But the CTE Foundation,
you train
and
people how to
SCO.org.
work with a 16-year-old.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think many 16-year-olds
You
are watching
listen.
this podcast. So.
You listen. Yeah, so it's an easy process. We're having great success with it, and honestly, it's how we change the future of our county.
God, I love that. So we've talked about this. We've covered a lot of stuff so far, but the reality is number one is get engaged, run for the school board. We need you. Number two is there's a lot of complexity going on with the funding of our schools, the amount of districts we have. Don't be surprised to see more news about tough decisions that have to be made. Right. Do I prioritize teachers? Do I prioritize students? Do I prioritize administrators? And just understand that any of those issues, they're going to have people, as we talked about, no matter what the solution is, there's going to be people who are pissed off and protesting.
Correct.
But you can't, as you said, as you've seen some people promulgate, you can't save our school district without doing what's needed and making hard choices to do it.
Yep.
You have to be willing to do that. And then the third thing I'd say is sign up for and get internships, get interns, be a part of the solution, be a part of the next step. Okay. So moving on from there and kind of cycling us a little bit further, how have you come to this place? Where did your motivation go from walking into that? As much as I could say, tell me your bio, it's more about a story of the spark.
Yep.
Right? What made you go from being a substitute teacher to a principal to working with the County Office of Education south of us to running for this office?
Yep. That high school English, I thought that I had found my sweet spot. I loved literature. I loved being with kids. And I knew that there was, a principal that ran the school and kind of did their thing. And so I was at a school in Central Valley for, about 4 or 5 years and didn't think too much about it. And then we had a leadership change. And, the first principal that I had, he walked into my classroom. I'd been there for about 3 years. Walked in the classroom to do an observation, and then he walked out. And the kids asked, "Is that your dad?" And I go, "Guys, that's your principal. What do you?" So fast forward to this gentleman that came in subsequently, and he was at all the games. He was talking to the kids. He was. And what was so fascinating to me is this position that I thought was irrelevant to my work. I felt a difference in my classroom just having an engaged leader who engaged with kids. And I thought, now that is cool.
Yeah.
So I had the opportunity to become his assistant principal and learn from him, and then had a mentor who encouraged me to take on an elementary school, which was very different from high school. My first day, I had sweaty palms, and
back to junior English class.
Yep,
Who's harder, teenagers or toddlers?
Oh, toddlers. For me. I love sarcasm. I love this direct kids, but but those elementary school kids, they taught me a lot. I spent 10 years leading in elementary. Loved it. Just learned so much about the education system. And then went back to my true love, high school at Rancho Cotati High School.
Is that when you moved here?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Came out here from Central Valley. Loved the high school. But then, I just continue to look at systems and how the larger system can end up impacting what's happening in the teacher's classroom. So from there, I went to Novato and was in Novato when the pandemic hit. I worked at the district office, and that was really fascinating. I was going down to Novato, and we got our schools open, first for our students with disabilities, second for our English language learners. We had, Wi-Fi for kids. I was doing that, and then I was driving home to Petaluma, where I live, and all my neighbors, all the kids around me had spent their time on their laptops. And, I was really frustrated with Sonoma County. I was like, come on, guys, get it together.
That's one of the ways that people get involved, right?
It is.
Let's be real.
It is.
Sometimes it's like, aspirational. Sometimes it's I'm pissed off right now.
Yep.
But whatever it is, get up and do something with it.
Yep, absolutely. Yep. So there was a county superintendent in Marin County that I think was really part of. She took it on the chin. She was on the news. She was getting death threats, but she was pushing for what she knew kids needed. And I was so fascinated by that leadership. I got the opportunity to work under her for several years, and then when the great Dr. Harrington retired here in Sonoma County, I thought I want to take this to I want to impact the kids in my
Death
neighborhood.
threats, count me in.
Right. I want to be that person.
Shirt that says that.
Let's go. If it's for kids, it's worth it.
See, there it is. So one of the things that I say about being a parent or about doing this job is that people who don't do it, they come to you and they say, God, that looks like a lot of work and a lot of pain. And you're like, it is. But what you're not seeing is how magical it is.
The joy.
What you can do. Like even family members of mine who don't have kids, they're like, it looks like a lot of work. I'm like, yeah, but there's nothing more magical I've ever touched in my life.
I agree.
Nothing. There's no ceiling to it.
The good outweighs
if people
the
ask
bad
for my job,
every day.
I'm like, yeah. As I said earlier, sure, I'm the complaint line. But at the same time, what a privilege to be able to step up in hard times and like step in and talk with great leaders and empower them instead of yourself, and not be about ego, but about, like the good stuff. So thank you for stepping it up. Yeah, thank you for stepping up. So let's wind this through, right? I think we're doing good because a part of this is educational. A part of it is you educating me, but us educating others on what's happening, how school systems work, understanding that we want you to get involved, but understand that if you get involved, it is complicated, and it's okay. You don't have to know everything by the time you get involved. You can learn quick. We all are lifelong learners. So, get involved in your school, run for office, offer internships into your school programs. Do that. It's you'll be better for it.
I would say, schools aren't perfect. They never have been.
Yeah.
So that's okay, right? We're constantly chasing the arc of society, the arc of new developments, but that's okay. I think one of the most profound moments that I had was a couple summers ago. We interviewed Santa Rosa high school students. It was after the tragic loss of life at Montgomery, and we really wanted to know what those kids needed from us, and so we sent a team out to have these discussions. When we came back and coded the transcript, the number one thing those kids wanted: more adults on campus.
Wow. Who would have thought that?
I know. What teenager you think is going to want more adults around? But, the more that we talked to kids, the more we understood that, they just want to know that they're cared for. They want mentors. They want an adult to look them in the eye and slap them on the back and shake their hand and check in on their day. That is really what creates a culture, and that creates safety. And that doesn't have to be anybody with a bunch of schooling or credentials. That can be, our local churches, our nonprofits, our the neighbor next door. Just getting on a campus makes a difference for a child.
That's
and
great to hear.
I think that's a pretty profound thing for us to take away.
That's a great one. So there's so much we could talk about, but realistically, this is about understanding that we're all interdependent. Schools are not a bubble. They are part of your community. They're the foundation of our community and our society in many ways. Don't assume that you can't be involved in what's happening at a school. Quite the contrary. The school is interested in having the community involved, having the parents involved, having volunteers involved.
Yes.
Right? It's okay, right? It's better. I think the other thing that you said is not even just worrying about our 18 to 24-year-olds, but like for ourselves. Don't be that person who's locked away and not engaging in the things that are going on in your community. Get up and get involved. One of the things that I want to end on is really, you just got reelected.
Yep.
Uniquely Unopposed.
Unopposed. I'll
Bam.
take it.
Yeah, hell yeah. Well, that's because you're doing a great job, and it's also because it's a difficult job. And so you got another 4 years. And tell us about the next 4 years and what you see coming along and what you're going to be pushing for.
Yep. The next 4 years are about really going deep around this third grade literacy issue. I'm relentless on that. I want to continue to focus on that. We are really looking to find better solutions for mental health.
Yeah.
That's an area where we all struggle. The funding streams struggle. We've got the great support of the CAPE program from Sonoma County, but we need more of that. So we are looking at a model that's been that we want to replicate, that's been successful elsewhere, whereby we've created a system where we're pulling down insurance dollars and state dollars so that this kind of support can be funded in our schools. And that's going to be a pretty massive build, but we've seen it work elsewhere. Mental health is kind of one of those things where it's, whose football is it? Right? Do we need the state to build it? Do hospitals put it together? Does behavioral health do it? Is it the school's responsibility? We want to really figure out that solution for Sonoma County in a way that's got long-term sustainability. And that's going to be an interesting challenge. We want to see those internships continue to expand more and more. Our college, our students who are dually enrolled, who are graduating with that diploma and that college transcripts is on the rise. We've got great partners with both SSU and Santa Rosa Junior College to make sure that happens. We want to make sure that continues to happen. There's a new finance course that's going to start to hit our systems in 2028, where every child in their high school year is going to have a course on personal finance. So
Go figure.
Building a new course like that is always a great challenge,
yeah.
but this one we're so excited
You don't have
about.
to worry about pennies, though.
Right. Compound interest, we're going to learn about that. Forget the pennies. So those are some excited builds. And then I think so much of successful schools, if you look at the research, has to do with culture.
Yeah.
School culture, positive school climates, places where kids feel respected, challenged, seen, cared about. We did some early research when I stepped into office. I had a colleague of mine really look at how to improve our A through G rates, and then also asked him to do some research on safety. And he came back to me after about 3 months of research, and he goes, Amie, it's the same thing. You saw both with a positive school culture. And so we've done a lot of work. Welcoming schools is something that supports our LGBTQ youth. We're working on better pathways for student voice for our multilingual learner students. But I think that effort, if we can figure out how to really capitalize on positive school culture across Sonoma County schools, our work is already 80% of the way done.
I love it. I love it. Okay, so you got 4 years. You got marching orders. We need to be a part of the Army.
Yep.
And so as we kind of finish this up, I want to do a hit list.
Great.
I want to go through some stuff that is going on and get your gut check on them, whether it's your opinion or still needs to be studied or working on it or whatever.
All
I'm
right.
not going to pin you
Speed
into
round.
a corner, but a speed round, right? Okay, so first thing, cell phones in schools.
I don't love them in schools.
Me neither.
No, I think we have a lot of evidence. I love the Jonathan Haidt book, but I think we have a lot of evidence that says that they were an experiment that were enacted on millennials that has failed to
Distracted.
help them. And the mental health challenges, I mean, the stories I could tell you would just break your heart. But
I had a chance to meet the the Surgeon General of the U.S., Vivek Murthy, from the Biden administration, and his big focus was mental health, especially young female teen suicide rates, and tracking it with social media. It was just it was shocking, right? And his whole thing for the Prescription for America when he left was was the trinity of basically community engagement, education. It was like all back to basics, which is
Absolutely.
not buying into the distraction.
Yep, that
Okay, next
culture,
one. Open
belonging.
campus, closed campuses.
I'm an open campus girl.
Ooh.
I love it.
Fences
At Rancho, we took down the fences.
Did you?
Yeah, I love the kids
Did you say,
milling
"Take
around.
down that wall, Mr. Gorbachev"?
Yes. The fences remain down to this day.
Oh.
And I really like extending that trust to young people.
Okay.
And I think when you engage that trust, you're clear about the expectations.
Okay.
Kids will rise to the challenge for you.
Okay, here's an interesting one. Are teachers able to discipline to the level that is needed in schools? Are we too? Because I talk to some who it's, some who feel they're unable to hold decorum in schools. And I have other ones that say, quite the opposite. But I feel there's many I talk to now that feel that it's hard to be an authority in your class like it used to be.
Yep. I think in this country and in California in particular, and rightly so, we recognize that we were disproportionately punitive with students of color.
Yeah.
That had to be rectified.
Hell yeah.
And we've done some great things to do that. In the efforts to correct that, however, though, I think that we have failed to find that sweet spot for educators. One of the things that we put into place at Rancho was a reset room and a place where young people could go, kind of gather their thoughts,
My child
have a
she
little
went to the reset room the other day, and it was great.
have a little coaching pep talk, right? In a way that's not punitive, but that also allows an educator to control the climate of their class, right? They have certain expectations; those have to be held. And when you don't feel like you're empowered to do that, other students' education suffers. So I think we're still trying to grapple with how to create those non-punitive support efforts that help correct the behavior, keep the teacher at the helm, and we're not there yet.
Yeah. Well said. Okay, let's talk about safety.
Yep.
Right? So huge issues around, we're talking recently about the horrible example of the death at Montgomery, where I actually graduated, the subsequent conversations, school resource officers. I don't want to get into all the politics of all this stuff, but surveys from parents outrage, teachers and students saying that they didn't feel that they had the resources to be able to manage the security risks on campus, even though other people didn't want full-blown officers in to manage. But then you have positions that you weren't able to hire of people. So basically it's not whatever the vision wasn't happening, right?
Yep.
So talk to me not about the politics around school resource officers and disproportionate impacts or other things, but what are the examples that you see that work well for school safety right now?
Yep.
And what do you promote?
Yep. This has been one of the core. It just seemed like an early call to action. I was in my role 60 days when I got the call to go to Montgomery, and walking on that campus and hearing the stories of staff, of children, of parents. It was a gut check. And so I created a new division at the County Office of Education focused on safety. And we have gone to the national level to find the best national solutions, bring them to Sonoma County. One of the great ones is we've partnered with all the county divisions, and every Monday there's a meeting where we bring in child protective services, law enforcement, behavioral health, and we have a quick conversation. If there's a child who has done something beyond concerning, right? So an extreme anomaly that results to some of the most tragic headlines, the unthinkable. We try to catch those early. You see those headlines and everyone's like, I saw this, I knew that. We try to catch that early and we try to intervene and we try to support the child. It's not a punitive thing, but
like that whole idea of well, you're going to get suspended 3 times and you're going to get expelled and it's going to be an issue that's out into the world. But at the same time, there's other people who say you can't just go through healing circles forever if there's still danger and risk that's right in front of your face, right?
Yep. But we get all these county resources around the child. We're able to support mental health. We're able to make sure that there's a roof over their head. Is there a hot meal? Is there abuse in the home? Like, it is one of the best builds. There's very few counties. I only know of a handful in California that do this. But I really believe that we've been able to make our schools safer. We've prevented violent incidents by just being super proactive when we see something concerning. Another one of the things that came up was kids kept telling us these lockdown drills. You're not understanding that we are a post-Columbine generation.
Yeah.
And when you are doing that, our minds are going to the most horrific things possible. Yeah. And so we created the Big Six, and so now
you're
when
scaring the crap out of us.
Exactly, which was such a great learning for us.
You might send in a therapist to have me work on trauma-informed care, but you're the trauma.
Yep. Yeah. Here was a problem that I don't think that as adults we really realized until children told us.
Yeah.
So what we've done in Sonoma County now, when you go to our school sites, there is a progression level of 6 different levels. It lets the child know there's a dog running on campus, and so we need to have the doors closed, right? There's a chemical spill. We just need you safe. And so it's a lot more informative. It's a lot more safe, proactive.
Oh, God.
And it keeps children from going from the worst places imaginable. But
God bless you.
Yeah.
Last thing of safety in schools is I've had a lot of parents talk to me, and even I've talked with my child about oversight in the bathroom. I've heard a lot of people who have said that their kids don't want to go into the bathrooms, and when it's difficult, when there's either drug use or other stuff, and they don't feel like there's policing or monitoring in there. Do you hear this?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep. It chronically is one of the more difficult spots.
And it always has been. Let's be real.
Yep.
Smoking in the boys' room, right?
School,
I mean, even the songs are all about it. It's like the place where you can go hide, meet up with some friends, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the solution,
just another thing you're working towards, right?
The solution is to really make sure that, going back to the children asking for more adults, right? That is what it takes to make sure that those kinds of behaviors don't start bubbling up. And so you've got to just start patrolling. You've got to be monitoring those spaces. And I'm saying all this knowing full well that we're in a difficult economic time, and there are districts making really difficult decisions.
Absolutely.
And
we're not accusing anybody here. I think that by being transparent, aware, and talking through issues, I think it's pretty fair to say on a lot of these that it would be bad if you had a singular answer. The right answer is we're working based upon the best practices that we've seen. We're implementing them. It's not quick, but we're aware. We hear you. We can't promise you all the results you might want right now, but we're on the path.
Yep.
I mean, to me, when we were doing fire recovery, that's the only thing I could promise to people. We're working our butts off. Not we're working on it. And you're never going to hear from us again.
Yep.
Right. I got another one for you.
Yeah.
Tough one. Cafeteria food. I grew up when
open
all
campus.
Of a sudden,
I don't know what to tell you.
I mean this. I grew up at a time where Montgomery was flush with Taco Bell and sodas.
Yep.
And then there's this whole movement that like, hey, we can't be poisoning our kids with fast food all the time. Like, what are we letting into our campuses? Who decides what food is offered at campuses? Whether it's like local produce or the macaroni salad slop or catered to perfection.
Back to my English teacher days, I would come back from lunch. It'd be about 5th period, and I'd get started on my lecture, and all of a sudden I'd hear this crack. Everyone's, and I realized all these kids are opening their energy drinks. Like, I got an uphill battle. I can't. So
it sounds like you're at a bar at happy hour.
They're like, oh, everyone's just slammed a Red Bull. Forget it. We'll leave Shakespeare for another day. But the Schwarzenegger era really started helping California schools get a little bit more proactive around health, and so those things aren't offered on school campus the way they were back in my teaching days. And it's an effort. There's a lot of different efforts to make sure that we have farm fresh food. A lot of innovation going on out there, and it's something we do hear from kids about. Every single thing you've mentioned, by the way, is something that our kids bring up to me. You're in the sweet spot.
I'm there. Okay. Here's one more I want to leave us on.
Yep.
And this is, I try to tell people that identifying what we did right and what we didn't do right during disasters and different times is not about pointing fingers. I'm not like here with a tabloid, like putting a microphone in somebody's face. I want to know what you think, how you would deal with the next pandemic. Big question.
Kids first. I think that was my frustration with some of what
whether
took
it was
place.
the state, whether it was federal at times, whether it was local districts, whoever, right?
Yep. Yeah. You've got to prioritize. One of the things that, I think everybody that served in Marin is so proud of is within days of the pandemic, we had our special needs student classes opened. That those most fragile individuals were the adults who knew how to care for them. Not every child's household is safe. We need to remember that. And not every child's household is warm or has loving adults or has Wi-Fi and we need to hold those spaces or food.
Food and feeding programs, sometimes two full meals a day at school is the best.
We need to hold those spaces open. And I even think that lesson goes back to the fire. When we had the fires the next day, all my staff are traumatized. Our school is closed. And the young people still came to my school, right? Yeah. So they were there because they needed to be with each other. They needed to be with adults. And so I think more and more closing schools should be the last thing we do. The first thing we should do is create safe spaces for children and hold those open. Strive with all our might to hold those open for children.
I love the grit that you have when you say that. It's how you say it. It's not what you say, because ultimately and we had to deal with this with even things like parks and other stuff, is we hold dominion over public space. And when that public space becomes non-public, when like your park is not a sanctuary anymore, and yet the transmission rates are going sky high because they live in multifamily housing and they don't have, and yet the park is closed with officers there and the school field is open, but we don't trust people enough to go and put on a mask and do it. I think it's just for me, is I think about our 2017 fires and how different it was from 2019.
I agree.
And our response. And that's what I hope to see when we have another pandemic. Because that's how we have to live. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you. This was a lot of fun.
Love and appreciate you. Much respect.
Really grateful for everything. Thank you.
Onward. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.